All right, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a preview of day 2 of the TI10 main stage. Of course, TI10's day 1 of the main stage just concluded. I've already posted a review of every single series of the day. In case you missed it, in case you missed any of the series of the day, be sure to check that out. But yeah, I'm going to be doing my preview. I'm basically just going to be going over some of the matches for tomorrow, an updated look at the bracket now, as well as my top fantasy picks for the day. This is going to be for October 13th. Starting the day, we start with our upper bracket. We have our two remaining round one series of the upper bracket, and that is at 9 a.m. local time, again, Bucharest. We have PSG LGD taking on T1. This is going to be a pretty interesting series. I'm anticipating this is PSG LGD's series, but of course T1 being one of the most impressive teams so far this year, I would be surprised. I won't say I'll be surprised, but I would really love to see this go to 3 games. I think that both of these teams are fantastic. But at the end of the day, I'm anticipating it's going to be a PSG LGD win. But regardless, 3 hours after that at noon, we have Vertice Pro taking on Vertice Gaming. This is another series. This is probably one I'm anticipating even more, just because I think both of these teams are so good, and this will finally be like a proper test for Vertice Pro, a team who has notably struggled on main stages of majors earlier this year. They did pretty well in the group stage for themselves. Now it's time for the real deal at the upper bracket round 1, where they seem to have struggled the most this year. So I'm super anticipating this one. This is going to be a crazy series, and yeah, whoever wins this one is likely going to have to play against PSG LGD in the next round. So just trying to get yourself further ahead of the lower bracket pack might be what's best out of these two teams. Next up, with the lower bracket, 3 hours after that, of course, all of the series we have from now on, other than the grand finals, are best of 3. All of the best of 1s are out of the way. We have Team Spirit taking on Fnatic. Team Spirit, of course, lost their first series against Invictus Gaming today. It was a hard-fought series. It was pretty close up until Game 3, but they get knocked down to the lower bracket. It was somewhat expected of them, but they still had quite an impressive showing. I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to even take a game off of Invictus Gaming, let alone in such dramatic fashion. But they find themselves in the lower bracket, and against Fnatic, a team just coming off of a best-of-1 win. One that I think that a few people maybe were expecting. Undying was a team that was kind of came out of nowhere. I know I was certainly rooting for them, so it was kind of disappointing to see them go. But let alone, but regardless, Fnatic is now on a 3-game win streak. They of course ended their group stage by beating Team Secret in 2 very dominant looking games, and then they looked very dominant against Undying. So they have looked good in their past 3 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two teams collide. That again is at 3 o'clock. 3 hours after that, we have our final series of the day, again staying in the lower bracket, where we have OG versus Quincy Crew. Of course, OG coming off of a 2-0 loss in the upper bracket to Team Secret today, and Quincy Crew coming off of a very impressive win against Aster today. A win that looked very similar, looked like it was going to be very similar to Undying's loss. They were losing to pretty much the same kind of draft that Undying was losing to. However, Quincy Crew were able to find a way out of that chokehold. And they managed to pull out the win. So that's going to be another series that's on tomorrow. It's going to be kind of exciting. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be anticipating OG wins this, but still, we haven't seen OG win a game yet on the main event, so it could be anyone's series. So taking a look now at our updated bracket, of course, after all of the 6 series that we had today, because we had our 4 best of 1s, we see Invictus Gaming and Secret moving on in the upper bracket. They will meet in round 2. This will not be a series that is tomorrow. I have put all the series that are happening tomorrow in the purple color here. So we have our PSG LGD versus T1 here, VP versus Vici. Then we have in the lower bracket Spirit versus Fnatic, and OG versus Quincy. So of course, like I talked about in my review, we have Undying, Aster, Beast Coast, and Elephant all finishing at 13th to 16th place. They all earn just above 600k each. This is as far as they will end up going. But we also know 2 of our series here, which is going to be Alliance, is going to be end up facing either the loser of one of the losers of PSGLG versus T1, and EG is going to be up against the loser of VP versus Vici. So as we go on, this bracket is going to start filling itself out. As for right now, we're still near the starting point. Of course, we have only finished day 1. So finally heading into my fantasy picks now for day 2 of the TI10 main stage. I've kind of stuck with some teams that I think are going to be successful. So if at all you disagree with me on which teams you're anticipating to do well tomorrow, feel free to switch it up. I've kind of put my top picks for every role here. So in general, tomorrow I'm expecting that PSG, LGD, Vici, Spirit, and OG win their series. So I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards more more towards those teams, but at the same time, I'm also keeping in mind that some players don't earn as many points on average as some others, for example, or earn more than some others. For example, most of the members on Fnatic, usually just because of their average game length being higher, they are earning more points. So even though I don't see them doing particularly fantastic, if they do manage to have some long games against Team Spirit, which they had one of in their series against Team Spirit in the group stage, I'm anticipating that there will end up being a lot of points coming out from some of the Fnatic members. Just not enough for me to personally have them as my top picks, but just in consideration for any of you guys who might be skeptical on what to grab, just know that even some of the teams that are losing or that you might expect to lose tomorrow might still be teams that are really good at fantasy points. So yeah, first off, for my core role, I have Sumail and Ame myself. Sumail just in general being one of the highest core fantasy point producers, and Ame as well having a very high point per game average. Not only that, but I'm anticipating that PSG LGD will win their series tomorrow. As well on my list, I have Raven. Again, that's the Fnatic carry I was talking about, because I'm anticipating that they're just going to have long games. Even if they end up losing, I think it's worthwhile grabbing. I have him and Yatoro, like I mentioned. Yatoro, of course, being Team Spirit's carry, so of course they're going to be both in the same series there, so maybe that's just a matter of preference on which one you guys think would be better to grab for yourself. And then I finally have Poyoyo and Nightfall, who again are two carries that are facing off against each other in the upper bracket there, so if ever you're leaning towards one or the other, you can just grab which team you think is going to be doing better on average. Just know that usually Vertice Pro has been pretty low when it comes to fantasy points. They haven't been earning nearly as many as some other teams that have been doing as well as they have. So maybe keep that in mind when you're making your picks. For my mids, I stayed with Nothing to Say. I think Nothing to Say has been one of the best point producers as well. He's on the team. Same thing as Ame. He's on the team I'm anticipating to do quite well tomorrow. Next up, I have Ori. Ori has been one of the top point producers from the mid lane. The only reason I don't have him as my number one is because I'm not as confident that they're going to win their series. Again, Vici versus VP is going to be really unpredictable and a really tough series for, I think, both teams. So that's the only reason he's not my number one. Otherwise, I would have had him there. And then finally, Toronto Tokyo. I have Toronto Tokyo there for the same reasons that I had Yatoro in my last one, just because in general they're playing against Fnatic, which is a team that has again long average game lengths, as well as just being a pretty good point producer himself. And finally, for my support roles, I have DY and Poshka. Right under them, I have DJ from, of course, Fnatic. As well, I have Jabs at the bottom of my list. But before that, I have Saksa from OG, who has been one of the top point producers for OG. And then I have Y, aka Innocence from PSG LGD, for all the reasons I've mentioned for everyone else on PSG LGD so far in this video. So yeah, that does it. Again, the bracket's still kind of empty right now. It's going to start filling itself out throughout the tournament. And yeah, these are my fantasy picks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to be having a review of day 2 tomorrow night, as well as a preview with my day 3 fantasy picks. And I'm going to keep on going until the tournament ends. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.